Welcome to the deep dive. We take a pile of sources, look through them together, and really pull out the key nuggets, basically giving you a shortcut to being genuinely well informed. Today, we're jumping into something that affects everyone, but honestly, it often feels a bit mysterious: smart financing. Our mission here is to kind of pull back the curtain on the thinking, the mindset shifts, and the practical steps that can really take someone from, say, modest beginnings to building serious wealth. The material we're digging into today, it comes from these really detailed notes and insights from a pretty seasoned entrepreneur and investor, someone who actually turned, I think it was about $10,000 initially, into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It's quite a journey. And like any journey, you kind of need to know where the traps are before you can find the treasure, right? So expect some surprising facts, some really actionable advice. Let's get into it. What does smart financing actually mean? Beyond the usual, buzzwords we hear all the time.
Yeah, that's a great place to start because it's so much more than just, oh, save your money.
Mm.
For me, smart financing is really about being intentional. It's about control. It's this dynamic balance, spending, saving, borrowing, investing,
Mhm.
all aimed very precisely at protecting your cash flow, making sure you're not just living paycheck to paycheck. The real goal is like a fundamental shift in how you see money, getting your money to work for you instead of, the other way around.
Mhm.
It's interesting because a lot of people think it's just about managing debt, maybe, but it's bigger. It's about orchestrating your whole financial picture for long-term stability and growth.
Okay, that brings a lot of clarity. It's holistic, not just like
Right.
one piece of the financial puzzle. Now, if we're talking money, we definitely have to talk about mistakes. What are the biggest, maybe the most common errors you see people making, even people who think they're pretty financially savvy?
Oh, yeah. There are definitely some recurring themes. Three critical mistakes really stand out. They're like financial quicksand. First one, and this is just a massive drain on wealth potential, is bad debt. High-interest credit cards. People call them the silent killer. And it's not just the, say, 20% interest that kills you. It's the hidden cost, the opportunity cost. Think about it. Every single dollar you pay in credit card interest, that's a dollar that can't be working for you, compounding in an investment somewhere. Just carrying, let's say, a $2,000 balance at 20% over maybe 10 years. That can quietly cost you what could have been a down payment on a small house, or maybe a year's income for some people. You're literally just setting cash on fire for things like dinners out, vacations, things that give you zero financial return.
Setting cash on fire. Wow, that paints a picture. Especially when you frame it as losing a down payment. But okay, what about those times when someone faces a real emergency and they genuinely have to use that high interest card? What's the immediate lifeline then if they don't have that emergency fund yet?
Right, that's a crucial question. And it leads straight into the second big mistake, not having an emergency fund.
Wow.
Because life happens, right? Your car breaks down, maybe a job loss, an unexpected medical thing pops up. Without that cushion, that rainy day fund, ideally, 3 to 6 months of living expenses, suddenly you're forced into what I call panic borrowing. Often that means resorting to more of that bad debt just to cover necessities. It just creates this awful domino effect. Financial stress just piles up. To your point about the lifeline, though, if you absolutely must use a high-interest card in an emergency, your number one priority immediately becomes paying that off aggressively. Treat it like the most urgent bill you have, period.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember early in my career, before I really had a proper emergency fund, just getting a flat tire felt like this massive financial crisis. It really does create that domino effect you're talking about. So what's the quickest way someone can build up even just a small buffer if they're basically starting from zero?
Starting from scratch. It's all about micro habits. Honestly, automate, even if it's just, say, $25 a week or $50 into a completely separate savings account. Cut one thing that's not essential, that daily fancy coffee, maybe a streaming service you hardly watch, and just redirect that money. You'd be surprised how fast $50 a week turns into $200 a month. And then, suddenly you've got a few thousand building up. It happens quicker than people think. Okay, and the third critical error, delaying investment, just putting it off. So many people fall into this trap. They think, oh, I'll start investing when I make more money, or I'll start when I actually have enough saved up to make a real difference. But here's the thing. Time is your single most powerful asset when it comes to building wealth. It's your accelerator. Most people kind of get compounding intellectually, but they don't truly feel its power. Consider this scenario. Someone invests just $100 a month starting at age 25, but they stop at 35, just 10 years. They will likely end up with more money by retirement than someone who starts investing that same $100 a month at age 35, but keeps going all the way to 65. Yeah, that's how crucial those early years are. I actually had this client once Brilliant entrepreneur, super successful, but so focused on the business, they just kept putting off personal investing. By the time they hit their 40s, they suddenly realized they'd missed like over a decade of potential compounding. Big wake-up call. They basically had to play catch-up. Time. You just can't get it back in this game.
That comparison, the 25 to 35 versus the 35 to 65 investor, that really makes the power of time concrete. Wow. Okay, so we've talked about bad debt, the silent killer, but it's easy then to think all debt is just bad, dangerous. Yet, you've always said debt isn't inherently evil, so how should we maybe reevaluate borrowing? How do we spot when debt can actually be a tool for building wealth?
Absolutely. We really need to dismantle that idea that all debt is bad. It's just not true. Bad debt, like we discussed, is usually high interest. It's used for things that don't generate income, often things that lose value, like, I don't know, fancy clothes or impulse buys. Good debt, though, that's different. That's typically a low-interest loan taken out specifically for an income-generating asset. Think about, say, a mortgage on a rental property that actually brings in more cash flow each month than the mortgage payment. Or maybe a business loan that's strategically designed to grow your income way beyond the cost of that loan. The core idea is this. You should really only borrow when you have a clear and, importantly, a realistic plan to earn more from that borrowed money than the cost of borrowing it. It's about using capital strategically, leveraging it to get richer, not just to look richer. If you tie it back to the big picture, it's using borrowed money almost like a catalyst, right? To generate more wealth, not just spend it on stuff that depreciates.
That distinction, getting richer versus looking richer, is definitely a game changer for how to think about it. But I bet for a lot of listeners, the idea of taking on any debt still feels, well, risky. Even if it's labeled good debt, how do you manage that risk, even when the plan seems solid?
Yeah, that's fair. And that's where due diligence is absolutely key. Even with good debt, you manage the risk by having a solid plan B and maybe a plan C. For that rental property example, it means having enough cash reserves set aside to cover potential vacancies or unexpected repairs like the furnace breaking. For a business loan, it means doing meticulous market research, having contingency plans. What if sales are slower than expected? You minimize the risk by maximizing your preparation, understanding the worst-case scenarios, making sure you're not overextended. Good debt is about calculated leverage, yeah? Not just reckless optimism.
Calculated leverage, not reckless abandon. Got it. That's a great transition, actually, because for many people, investing itself feels incredibly intimidating. We've established that starting early, that time is critical. But where should just a regular person even begin? What are the smart investing basics?
You're absolutely right. It can feel overwhelming, but the good news is it doesn't have to be super complex to be really effective. For most people just starting out, I usually recommend beginning with something simple like index funds or ETFs. Specifically ones that track a broad market index, like the S&P 500. They're great because you're essentially buying a tiny piece of, the 500 largest companies in the US. You're diversified right away. You're not trying to pick the winning horse. You're basically betting on the whole race. Historically, these tend to grow around, let's say, 7 to 10% per year on average over the long term, which helps you stay ahead of inflation. And here's a really powerful but super simple tip. Automate your investments. Just automate it. Set it up so money's automatically taken from your paycheck each month and goes straight into your investment account. You barely notice it's gone. And trust me, your future self will definitely thank you for it. It's just one of the easiest ways to build that consistency habit. This brings up something important, though. Really understanding the magic of compound interest. Lots of people know the term, right? Compound interest.
But it often feels kind of abstract. Think of it like this. You earn interest or returns on your initial money. Then that interest itself starts earning interest. So it's not just, say, 5% on your first $100. Next year, it's 5% on 105. Then 5% on $110.25. And it just keeps rolling. That difference might seem tiny in year 1 or 2, but over decades, that's the difference between having thousands and potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions. Once you genuinely grasp that, how money makes money over time, it can actually change your spending habits. You start thinking twice before, blowing cash on things that don't matter long term.
It's funny you say that. When I first really got compound interest, it felt like unlocking some kind of secret level in a game. It really does feel like magic when you see the numbers play out over time, doesn't it? But okay, even with smart strategies in place, money stress is real. It happens to almost everyone at some point. How do you personally manage that? How do you avoid losing sleep over finances, especially with the market's inevitable ups and downs?
Yeah, that's a very real practical question. Because peace of mind, well, it's priceless, isn't it? It really starts with a few core habits for me. My number one strategy, honestly, even now after building some wealth, is just consistently living below my means And this isn't about like depriving myself. It's about being intentional. For me, it means really knowing the difference between my needs and my wants and finding more joy in experiences maybe than in just stuff. It's actually surprising how much mental energy you free up when you're not constantly chasing the next big purchase. When your basic needs are covered and you know your future is being taken care of, your brain is just freer to focus on creativity, relationships, other things that actually bring more fulfillment than, any luxury item ever could. So yeah, peace of mind definitely beats fancy stuff every time.
Second thing, I actually budget for fun money. A lot of budgets fail because they feel way too restrictive, right? People just give up. But a smart budget, in my view, has to include a line item for guilt-free spending. Call it fun money, blow money, whatever. Just designate a certain amount or maybe a percentage each month that you can spend on absolutely anything, no questions asked. Once it's gone for the month. This lets you enjoy things, splurge a little within those limits. It makes the budget feel like a helpful guide, not a financial prison. And lastly, I check my finances about once a week. Not every day, that's usually too much or breeds anxiety, especially if the market's jumpy, but a quick weekly check-in. That keeps me feeling in control, aware of what's going on, without getting obsessive or letting small things snowball.
That's incredibly grounding advice. Peace of mind over fancy stuff. And the fact that even successful people stick to routines like a weekly check-in. It's a good reminder that these habits aren't just for beginners, they're universal. So, looking ahead then, thinking about 2025, maybe beyond, what are, say, 3 crucial smart money habits you'd really want every listener to focus on adopting?
Okay, yeah. 3 crucial habits that I think really set you up for long-term success. First, automate absolutely everything you possibly can. Bills, savings transfers, and especially your investing. Automation just removes the friction. It prevents those impulsive mistakes, It ensures you're consistently doing the smart thing without even having to think about it or use willpower. It's the ultimate set it and forget it for building wealth. Builds discipline without the effort.
Okay, automate everything. What's number 2?
Second, learn to negotiate. Seriously, this is such a massively overlooked skill, and it can genuinely save you thousands. We're talking negotiating your salary, sure, but also things like your monthly bills, cable, internet, phone, your insurance premiums, even interest rates on existing loans sometimes. Often, just one phone call, one well-prepared conversation can make a huge difference to your bottom line over time. It's about being proactive, knowing your worth. You'd be surprised what's negotiable if you just ask politely but firmly.
That's a good one. Okay, and the third, and finally, number 3, stay curious. Keep learning. The world of money, finance investing. It's changing constantly, faster than ever it feels like sometimes. But keep learning about new things. Maybe it's understanding crypto a bit better, or looking into AI investing tools, or just how digital banks are evolving. You don't need to become an expert overnight, but commit to reading a little bit, listening a little bit every week. The financial landscape shifts, and adapting your knowledge is absolutely key to staying ahead. And the overarching message, something I really believe in, is that plans beat panic every single time. Being informed, being proactive, that will always outperform just reacting out of fear when things get uncertain.
Plans beat panic every single time. I love that. That's a fantastic and honestly a really reassuring thought to end on. This has been incredibly insightful, a really valuable deep dive. For everyone listening, just to wrap it all up neatly, what are those quick essential rules or principles for smart financing they should take away?
Okay, the quick version. The absolute bedrock habits for financial stability and growth. Here they are. 1, spend less than you earn. Sounds simple, but it's foundational. 2, protect your credit score like gold. It affects so much. 3, avoid bad debt completely and learn to use good debt wisely, strategically. 4, start investing as early as possible. Remember, time is your most valuable asset here. And 5, automate everything you can, savings, investing, bills. Your future self is going to be incredibly grateful you did.
Those are absolutely essential principles. Thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom and for keeping it so practical and, well, real for all of us. And to you listening in, we really hope you've picked up some truly valuable insights today. Remember, money doesn't have to be overwhelmingly complicated. It's really about just being a little bit smarter today than you were yesterday, applying these kinds of principles. So, for a final provocative thought to leave you with, considering the power of automation we just discussed and the importance of continuous learning, what's just one single area of your personal finances you could commit to either automating or maybe just researching a bit more deeply this week? Think about it. What's one small step you can take right now to start building that foundation so your future self really can be financially grateful? Take that step, see where it leads. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.